I want to talk about something that is really tricky and complicated to talk about, and I think I found a way to do it. So there's this movie called Indie Game the Movie. It's a documentary about a bunch of people making indie games, and by far the most like likable character person in this movie is Edmund Macmillan, who at the time is working on Super Meat Boy. There's this really impactful and emotional bit in the movie where after all the work and exhaustion and hopelessness and all of these like mood swings and everything, they have released the game and then people liked the game. He kind of takes a moment to kind of celebrate and says something like, I'm going to heavily paraphrase here. I don't actually remember the exact words. He says something like, well, when I was a 10-year-old kid, I was so excited to play Mega Man. And hopefully, I imagine this morning some 10-year-old kid woke up and is really excited to play Super Meat Boy. That's like a really emotional moment because it's kind of, you can see that this person is almost trying to fix their childhood or something. That might be reading too much into it, but the whole idea behind the movie is that people are putting their personalities in these games and talking about themselves. I think I watched this movie at a very impressionable age, and by that time, I already had the idea of like, oh, maybe I can make stuff that might be interesting and could put myself in it somehow. But I didn't know why I was doing that. And then I watched this movie and I was like, wow, that is it. That is just it. You put yourself in the game as honestly as you can, and it kind of in turn it makes you a better person. This movie was released 14 years ago, so it's been a while. So I have a few different ideas about what this movie means to me and the promise of it, the promise that you will make a game that will make everyone like you. Everyone will just love what you make, and then they'll give you money, and then you'll be like, wow, I'm a better person now. It's almost like therapy, right? And that is the word that I want to talk about is game development as therapy. And I think that is something that I learned looking at this movie and just stuff like that. Just everything, the culture around that, the initial culture of indie games. I think in quite a few creative people's back of their minds, there's this thing of like, I'm going to make something that will express myself, express something about myself that I cannot express with words that will fix me. And it's a really weird idea when you think about it, is because like what you're doing is you're trying to sell, let's say, art, because like the act of expressing yourself and putting yourself out there honestly and all of that feels a bit artsy, you know? Let's say you're putting out an art piece and then you're expecting a lot of money in return. Like so much money that you just don't have to have a job, right? You just don't, that's your job, just to express yourself in this weird technical wizardry way. And then people are like, wow, you express yourself so well, I'm going to give you money. And that is the promise of indie games. And it is interesting to see that that promise obviously hasn't held up, right? Because how could it? Because it's such a nice promise that then everybody wanted to have a go. So many people like me were like, oh, maybe that's my life. Maybe I could also be one of those guys, right? And we sure tried. I'm still trying, right? I have a slightly altered way of looking at it where your job doesn't need to also complete you or be therapeutic for you. Because surely that's a luxury. Surely that is something that not everybody can have. and like hopefully you enjoy your work to some level, but it's never supposed to be just like getting a massage or something, right? It's not supposed to be like, oh, every day I work and I make money and it never feels like work. I'm sure some people exist like that, but that they must be very rare, right? So I suppose like back at those times, I haven't been in therapy and I haven't really had a lot of avenues to talk about myself. I had a lot of shame about talking about myself. I would write these stories. I would do these stupid drawings and I would try to be silly and try to make my friends laugh and stuff. But when it comes to actually being able to express your emotions, I did not have that. So there was this a lot of anger and a lot of being confused about why I feel certain things. And like some of that is still there, but after spending a few years in therapy, I kind of find that it got much easier to express myself. And I actually talked to quite a few different mental health professionals over the years to the point where I have like bullet points. I have bullet points about oh, this is the origin story of myself. And it's like, oh, I was an obese kid and at the time when I wanted to be like cool and attractive and stuff, that was like not an option, and then my confidence level just like plummeted, and then I have all of this problems with my weight, and I was always a shy person, so that kind of informed how much I could actually communicate with people and all of these things. And then when I meet a mental health professional for the first time and I just give them the rundown, a few of them just went like, "Oh, like you're really aware of yourself," and I'm yeah, like I've been talking about this so much. So that's weird. But the good thing about like exploring that kind of that side of yourself is that it gave me a different way to view my career. So here's the thing, like I'm always like, ugh, why am I doing this? And I don't know where this feeling comes from. It probably comes from exhaustion. It's just like I get tired and then I'm like act out against myself. When I get that feeling, it used to be like it just didn't have any answer. But these days, when I get that feeling, ugh, why do I do this? I know the origin story of why I do this. And then you look at, Edmund Macmillan just released a video game, right? Called Mugenics. And you look at him, and then he's still at it, you know? He's still like having all these ideas about life and humanity and stuff and making them extremely fun and addictive to play with his ideas and his humor, and then everybody seems to love it as well. So game development as therapy is the thing that I wanted to talk about today. Like this idea that you could work on a game and then it would just make you understood and people would just be like, wow, I get it, you're cool. And it's really weird to talk about it because I think a lot of us like creatives have this, but it's so embarrassing to talk about it. And I also know people who see like creativity as a binary thing, which I have a lot of problems with. Like a lot of people look at me and they just don't know why I do this. And they're like, oh yeah, he's creative. And then they just move on. And that allows them to move on, which is why they say that. But also, like, there is an explanation, and it's so weird that no one is asking for the explanation that is there. It seems like no one is really interested in going deep. Like the relationships that we have, like friendships and everything we have with people, are so, they can be so shallow. Like you can just make, oh, that's the friend that I talk about games with. That's the friend I talk about music with. You know, there's these boxes that we put people in order to go a bit deeper than that. The current like niceties of the current society doesn't quite, or maybe people are just not interested. You know, people are more interested in talking about the weather. Like you could ask people really interesting questions and get really interesting answers. But instead of doing that, we go and talk to a therapist about these things, which is really weird to me. The idea of like paying someone so that they would listen to you and ask you the right questions. I feel like that is something that we could just do as like without paying anyone. So I just had this idea of like, oh, I picked this career to try to fix myself because I always thought there was something wrong with myself. And then the thing that I had to figure out was that there was nothing wrong with myself. So this is the kind of drama curve of my life. And that is the thing that I'm trying to express, but I'm not doing a great job at it. Like, who actually feels like they just fit in a society? Isn't it much more normal when you're like in high school or something? Oh yeah, I wasn't a popular one in high school. Oh yeah, I wasn't, you know, the prom king or prom queen, as the Americans say. We are a society full of people who don't really fit in. I'm getting a bit sidetracked, but I feel like people just do like psychedelic drugs and stuff to go deeper. But then you could just go there. Do you really need like so I suppose that's the thing, like people just block these things. I've always been just interested in the motivation and the psychology behind it all. Yeah, I never needed to do mushrooms. I feel like if I did mushrooms, it would be like, oh yeah, I mean, okay, nothing has changed. I was already aware of all of these things. Like people, like some people do mushrooms and they're like, oh, I didn't know I was carrying this pain or something. And I'm like, yeah, these are the 6 major pains that I'm carrying. Oh, hello, religious trauma or whatever. You know, I have all of them nicely packed and labeled and you know, nicely presented in my own brain anyway, because no one wants to see them. I was listening to a podcast with Edmund Macmillan today with Chris Plante or Plant, and it's this podcast called Post Games, and it was really good. And it was all about how Binding of Isaac was about nurture abuse and eugenics is about nature abuse. And it's really an eye-opening thing to say. I think I saw that in the comments of the podcast. That makes you think, right? It's like some of these things we cannot pick because they're just in our genes, and then when we have children and stuff, they just get those things. And eugenics is kind of about that, apparently. So that's something that going forward is a lens that I want to look at my own games with, of like what kind of honesty can you show to people. Because here's the thing, here's the other complex idea that I want to talk about at the end of this already long video. Actually, maybe let's just do that in the next video. Maybe that will be better. So yeah, this will be a 2-parter or a 3-parter or a 4-parter, we don't know. But thanks for watching up until this point, and I will see you on the next one.